Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Cherry, and I'm so happy that I'm here with you guys. Hey, I've got a question for you guys. How do you handle stress? You know, it's not fun to feel overwhelmed by stress and worry, but, you know, it's also not a bad thing to feel stressed or worried. It kind of contradicts itself, right? It just means you're human, and you are a human, and humans feel all these things, including stress and worry. Hey, so there's this time when I was a sophomore at high school, right? And my older brother, he was a grade above me, he was a junior. And we were coming back from track practice one day. And we were starving, right? After practice, we were kind of hungry. But, you know, because we're growing men, well, we're actually growing boys back then. But, you know, we need our protein, our nutrition, right? And, you know, Mom always says, hey, there's food at home. And there's really just like some bottles of barbecue sauce or something like that. So, you know, we're hungry, so we got to stop and get some food, right? But I'm a sophomore in high school, and I don't have any money. Okay, I've got birthday money and hey Mom, can I borrow some money? Things like that, you know, but that's all I got, right? I don't really have any money. I don't have a job. So we're gonna stop for food and I've got like maybe $2 to my name. Well, actually $2 back then would buy a lot, but today it's like $20. But hey, anyway, so my older brother, he got, just out of nowhere, he just turns to me and says, hey, what do you want to order? And you know that feeling, right? You want something, but you don't want to ask for it, and then the person asks you about the thing that you didn't want to ask about, but he asked you about it, and let me tell you, man, that changed things for our relationship, right? Because almost every time after practice then, he would just ask me, he goes, hey, what do you want to eat? Without asking for anything in return. And man, it took a whole lot of stress and worry off me. You know, and when somebody goes above and beyond, it does something for you, right? Without asking. Man, that's just incredible. When somebody just shows up and notices that a need and helps you out, it's a huge thing, right? And I'm sure that you guys been there. We've all found ourselves in a situation feeling stressed or worried and just needing a little help. Maybe you woke up late because your alarm didn't go off, or I've had that feeling before, you know, when you wake up and you're like, whoa, man, I slept in, and man, that shouldn't have happened, but you know, it did. Or your teacher asked you to talk about an assignment that you forgot to do, and you're like standing in front of the whole class going like, well, you know, 7 years ago, well, something like that, you know. Or maybe you're worried about getting to class on time, so you're just running through the halls like crazy. Or, hey, you broke your school computer. Maybe you were just absent from school and you come back and man, you got all this homework you got to make up, right? Or your pet went missing. You're like, hey, where are you at? Or your parents maybe told you to do some chores on a night when you already have a ton of work to do. And I think it's safe to say that most of us have been stressed out or worried by similar things. For a lot of us though, things might be pretty much okay. Most days you might be even thinking like, hey, I'm not stressed or worried, right? So, hey, quit talking about it because I'm not stressed, I'm not worried. But because you're talking about it, now I feel stressed and worried. Well, you know, stressful things do come up in our everyday lives. So have you ever wondered if God could help when we're facing worry or stress? Does God show up to help? And if so, how does he show up? Here's an example from Jesus' life about a time when he was going through a lot. John was one of Jesus' closest friends, and he described a time when Jesus was worried about his own mom. Here's what was happening. Jesus had just been put through an unfair trial, and he was found guilty, even though he didn't do anything, right? And he was put on a cross to be crucified, and Jesus knew he was going to die, and he was kind of worried about what would happen and who's going to take care of mom when he was gone. So standing near the cross was his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. And when Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the person he loved, right, his friend, he said to her, dear woman, here's your son. And he said to his friend, here's your mother. And from then on, his friend took care of her and he took her into his home. Imagine, you know, what life is going to be about for Jesus' mom after he died. So why do you think Jesus was worried about her? Leading up to his death in this moment, Jesus was going through a lot, right? He was worried about who would take care of his mom and when he wasn't there anymore. Because of all this time before that, you know, he'd be making sure that she had been taken care of. What did Jesus do when he felt stressed and worried about, right? When he's on that situation, he turned to one of his closest friends for help. He asked his friend to become that person who would take care of his mom. And I think we could all learn a lot from what Jesus did right there. I think we can also learn something about God too. Like Jesus' friend helped him when he was worried. God can use others to help us when we are worried. So how do you handle stress and worry that shows up in your everyday life? Here are 2 things that you can try. First, you can turn to others for help. God can use our friends, family, teachers, group leaders, coaches, and other helpful humans. Yes, even your brother and sister, like my brother helped me out, right? I bet there are people in your life who want to help you out. In fact, I know there are people in your life who want to help you. Second thing is this: you can look for ways to help others. One of Jesus' closest followers, named Paul, wrote a letter to people who followed Jesus in the early church. I think we can learn something from what he wrote here. So here's what he said: carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Wouldn't our lives feel less stressful if we followed Jesus by helping others out? Like every day, wake up and look for ways to say, yes, Jesus. It's kind of like Jesus' close friend that I talked about earlier. He said yes and took care of Jesus' mother, right? What if this week we look for ways to help in similar ways? Imagine if we all chose to say yes, Jesus, I'll help whoever needs it. Following Jesus reminds us that God can use others to help when we're worried. Your group can be those people too. I mean, each week you get the chance to talk through stuff like this with the people, not only who want to help you, but who understand what it feels like to have to go through these things in everyday life that we need help with, right? So maybe opening up to your group is a great first step for God to use others to help you when you're stressed out and worried, right? So remember, when you're stressed and you're worried, just turn to God and pray and look to Jesus and help in ways that we can help others and they can help us. All right, guys. Hey, you know what? If you got something out of this message today, I want you to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so that you can get these messages every week. And if you're in the area here in Palm Desert, stop by, man. I'd love to see you and just talk to you about Jesus, right? So don't worry about anything this week. Don't get stressed out. Turn to God and do what Jesus would do. Help others. All right. I love you guys. You have a great week.